How you doing?
So I got to bring something up right away.
Okay.
And I'm a little annoyed I didn't get an angry message from you or a hilarious message from you.
Oh, okay. What
Because
happened?
I don't know if it didn't work or did work, and you just didn't
Hmm.
realize it or did work. I tried to change your WordPress backend CMS into Espanol while you were gone.
Oh, you did.
Good.
Yeah. So actually, I was amused to discover that I assumed it just did it automatically,
Nope, that was me.
and that this morning when I logged in, or yesterday actually, I posted
Mhm.
something yesterday. I was like, oh, it's still in Spanish. That's weird. Maybe it will take a day or something. Yeah. So if you could, you know, no, I mean I know enough. I mean I know the WordPress. I don't have to know Spanish to understand how the thing works, but I
Yeah.
mean I know enough Spanish. So I was like, yeah, whatever. That's what it's like when you travel. The entire internet turns into the language of the country,
Right.
right? When you go to Google or whatever. Netflix is like that.
Yeah, every time I saw you make a post, I kept waiting for the message like, hey, why is my.
So the other one that was like that is let me see if I can remember what movie it was. I started watching. There's a Netflix movie called Army of the Dead, which by
Mhm.
the way, terrible. It's just terrible. It's like so you imagine like the meeting they made for this, where they were like, we're gonna make Ocean's 11 with zombies. Like that was literally that's the plot. And I started watching the beginning of it, and it was in Spanish, and I said, "Oh, that's interesting." It
Mhm.
takes place in Las Vegas, and I was like, there's a lot of Spanish in Las Vegas. That makes sense. And then I was like, "Hold on a second." This was on the plane ride home, so
Mhm.
it wasn't like I watched a movie when I was away. But yeah, it had switched into Spanish mode because I had been in Spain, I guess, or Mexico. Where was I, Brad? I don't know. How was my vacation? I can't remember.
Well, you posted a lot of food, some alcohol. Some.
Yeah, we.
How was it?
I'm going to write another thing
Yeah.
about it, not because I need to say anything about Mexico City per se, but there are some interesting, uh, I guess, health and fitness type things I didn't touch on, like the altitude, which is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
I could barely read this thing. So I mean, my resting heart rate has been about 66 for the past month or so, and then
Mm-hmm.
I went out to Mexico City, and my resting heart rate went up to, it was like you could see it go up every day. It was like 71, 73,
Mm-hmm.
75. By the time I went home, it was like 78. And I was like, man, if I stayed here for 2 weeks, would I just die? Like, what? Like, how does this ever? You must acclimate at some point. But when you're at like 7,400 feet is the rough altitude there. It's you get winded just going up a stair, or an
Mm-hmm.
incline.
I was
Um,
curious. I just looked at my resting heart rate for today. It's at 60, which.
yeah, no, I'm not surprised yours is lower than mine. My wife's is in the like high 50s. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, but the one thing I don't do is try. I'm just looking at it now because like
Yeah.
I don't. There are certain health metrics that I track on my Fitbit. Obviously, sleep is a big one for me because I sleep horribly. Um, and then there are things I do at the doctor every 6 months, like you do the blood pressure and cholesterol and all that stuff. And the one thing I don't really pay attention to is like my heart rate over the. Oh no, that's not actually true. So well, during the course of the day, for the most part, I don't track my heart rate, but when I'm at the gym, I see it on the elliptical, right?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully on the elliptical, you're like in the 130s, if you want to hit like there are fat and cardio zones and stuff. But man, walking around Mexico City, I started looking at it and I'm like 108. Is that good? Like that's just walking there is an
Mm-hmm.
exercise almost.
Yeah. I mean, you're basically
Um,
living in the middle, or the city's the middle of a bowl of like a mountain range. It's great.
yes, yeah, no, it's amazing, a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful place, but man, you got to be ready for that stuff.
Yep.
We walked a lot and maybe a little too much in the beginning, you know. But the last morning, the morning before we left, we went down early and grabbed coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a mile away or half a mile away, whatever it was. But that was the first day I felt like kind of light on my feet. I was like kind of bopping down the street. And I was like, oh, I feel great. That's good. But man, that stuff is, I don't know. It's weird. This is where maybe too much information is too much information.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I meant to write more than I did. I was just exhausted the whole
Yeah,
time.
no, I got some good posts up.
No,
while
you
were
did,
gone.
and I'm so glad you got some stuff up.
Yeah.
And you got your car story up, which is great.
Yeah, which I don't know, people whatever commented. Here's life. So how was the first, at least as we know it today, the first official road trip with Windows 11?
Yeah,
in the world.
it was great, and I have to say, well, the I talk a lot about workflow, and workflow involves a lot of different things. But one of the things that goes into it is like the tools that you use and how efficient you can be while using them and so forth. And familiarity really helps. And I think a lot of people mistake, um, uh, you know, things working well for you just being familiar with them. And I try to experiment with different tools over time. We all do this, right? You try different web browsers, different text editors, different note takers, whatever it might be. And I got to say, the one tool that I use that right now is literally irreplaceable for me is Microsoft Paint. And I know that sounds stupid. Yeah, it is a huge problem not having Microsoft Paint for me, just for the type of things that I do. Now I had very little problem, and you did too, I know, moving from Photoshop and my case Elements to Affinity Photo, whatever it's called. That thing to me, I is very light usage for me. I basically crop, resize, publish to PDF or to JPEG or whatever. But when I'm in the middle of editing images, I rely on Paint, and I didn't realize how bad it was until I didn't have Paint. And on my laptop, I'm back on my desktop. I have Windows 11 on this computer as well. I think it was on the plane ride, I went to I went to use Paint to do whatever, and it wouldn't load. Like you click on the icon, it wouldn't load. And I clicked on the icon, I have it pinned to my taskbar. It disappeared from the taskbar. I'm like, that's weird. And I searched it, it came up fine. I'm like, okay. And then if an app is updating from the store, there's like a line kind of going, through it. And I thought, okay, it must have been in the middle of an app update. And then I got on the plane. So, okay, I'll deal with it. I'll get to the hotel. I can, get online. I couldn't get this thing it never ran. It never came back. And so it was in the store. Like I could see it listed in the store. So I said, that's okay. I'll just delete it. So I uninstalled it, and then I went to the store again, and it was like this, it's unavailable on this computer. Great. So I didn't have Paint. Now, there is a world of other editing apps, I know. I never found anything that worked efficiently. That Paint 3D thing that's built into Windows actually came closest. Ponderous to use, multiple steps for the same little things. Really inobvious UI, and it doesn't do the same thing. And in fact, if you go to the site, let's see if I can find this. You'll see if you go to the article about me using it on the road called Windows 11 Real World Use. If you look closely at that image, the header image, the laptop I brought is a 3x2 display, and it's not appearing in the article. That's odd. I didn't. Yeah, I'm so frazzled. Oh no, I did it on purpose. I see. In the article itself, there's a version of the image that's the full-size image, so it's the 3x2 thing. But I wanted to use that image in a 16:9. Well, how do you crop this thing so it makes sense? The way I would do this, it's hard to I can't even describe it. The way I would do this in Paint is I would basically combine two different images using transparency, and you kind of take a screenshot without the start menu. It's hard to explain, but what I'm cropping out is the middle of the start menu.
Yep.
And to make up for the space. And if you look at the it's hard because it's in thumbnail, but if you look at the image on the home page, that's a little thumbnail, it's cropped wrong. And it's because I didn't have Paint. I just didn't have it's not the way I want. I would have done that much better with Paint. I'm just more efficient using it, And actually you can see the little Paint 3D icon because I Paint 3D for this. It didn't work anyway. It was a long story about Paint. I'm sorry, but
it was.
But these are the things that make it hard to move to different platforms. If you go to Chrome OS, you go to Mac or something like that, or Linux or whatever. If you're used to certain things, like these are the things that get in the way. And I think for people, if you have too many of those, you just kind of stop. You just say, "Yeah, I can't do this." It makes it hard. So
yeah, it's the edge cases, effectively.
But by and large, Windows 11 is really nice, and it looks fresh. To me. I like the rounded stuff. It looks a little awkward in some Windows, and I think it's just the design. I think maybe app design can do a better job. If you bring up this is kind of a weird one, but Vivaldi, the browser, because it's kind of borderless, it looks really nice with the rounded corners. Like it looks like it was designed for it. I think we're going to see more stuff. The more I look at the screen, the more I can see that the bottom right, where the clock and the action center and all those little icons are, doesn't belong there.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
The middle is Windows 11. And I think that's going to change. And you can kind of look to Chrome OS to see how it might change. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, this thing is very much like Chrome OS. But I mean, it's, I would say overall it was fine. I took a chance, using it, and I certainly got bit in the butt a little bit by it. But yeah, I like it.
Good. Well, nobody needs to tune in tomorrow for.
You definitely do, because obviously
there's more coming.
Stuff we don't know. There are going to be surprises, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of low-level stuff we don't know about. There have been things coming about the big core, little core stuff, and that's fantastic. Yep. For the 7 people that have hybrid CPUs in their PCs, Windows 10 is or Windows 11 is negligibly more, but more performant. Fantastic. But that will have ramifications for the future. Since Windows 11 is Windows 10, there's no reason Windows 10 couldn't also be improved to offer that same performance. It's the same exact operating system, but I suspect Microsoft won't do that because they want people to upgrade. So yeah, see,
you got to put the line in the sand of.
Yeah, and it's okay, right? I mean, especially if the one of the other rumors is that this will again be free for everybody, right?
I would be shocked if it wasn't.
They have to do that.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Apple does, right? I don't know if you paid attention or saw this, but like there's a bunch of whatever the next version of macOS is called, features that will not be available on Intel-based Macs. That's also rather arbitrary, right? They could be ported over there, but they're not going to do that, and that's a little subtle push to get people to upgrade to a new machine. We want that in the PC space as well. I mean, not we as consumers, but we, the PC makers and Microsoft, people run the industry. So I get it. It's okay.
Yeah. There was an incorrect headline that went out that says, you'll see where I'm going with this. Microsoft crosses $2 trillion valuation on the backs of Windows 11 at launch. I can tell you that it's not. Wow. There's not a lot to do with Windows 11 here. The 2 trillion's big, but
I mean, could you have lined up? I imagine you have to. It's like a James Bond movie. We're going to invent a global calamity that will benefit the company of the villain, right? And in this case, of course, the pandemic lifted many companies that had kind of hybrid work, hybrid learn solutions in place. It is interesting to me that some companies like Slack did not benefit from this, but I mean, the history of that will be written in the future.
I guess maybe you could say they did benefit because they got bought, which, depending on how you look at it.
Because they did. I mean, listen, if that company had surged like Microsoft did, if Slack usage had surged like Teams usage had surged last year, Slack wouldn't be part of Salesforce today,
Here's a fun little data point I did. So it took Microsoft 16,092 days to hit their first $1 trillion valuation.
Well, but you understand.
No, I know. It's not quite fair, but just.
Oh, but okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
To go from 1 trillion to 2 trillion, 789 days. Yeah. Obviously, you're not going to, come out of the 80s or whatever and be $1 trillion company like they are today. But yeah.
Yeah, market cap is like the economy for a president. Whoever's in charge at the time gets all the credit. But I feel like, we need, as Microsoft fans or enthusiasts or whatever we are, followers, we need to give a little credit here to Steve Ballmer as well. I mean, he started off just kind of coasting, doing what Bill Gates was doing, and then eventually started shifting things up. And this whole cloud thing we've been talking about the past 10 years, that was all him. He's the one who put that all in place.
You got to start somewhere.
Well, 3 clouds and a screen or whatever it was.
Yeah, three screens in a cloud, I think it was.
3 screens, like what the hell it was. I don't know. Yeah. But it's stupidest phrase. But, was it Satya Nadella who came up with mobile first, cloud first, or cloud first, mobile first?
Mobile first, cloud first, yeah.
It's also silly. But, but anyway, the point being, Microsoft's current market cap is based largely on its reality and promise of cloud computing,
Yep. And their ability to kind of steal some stuff away from Amazon, I think is.
Well, yeah. I mean, you always want to have a strong number 2. I guess being the iOS of this market might not be such a horrible thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, right.
Although I don't know if I would call Amazon probably more the iOS, because AWS is like a really locked garden, whereas Azure is actually
from a market.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But no, you're right. Technologically, yeah, we're sure.
So, Anyways, we are back. Tomorrow's a big day, 11 a.m. I think Eastern time, right? It's
Right. That's right.
usually it's like noon or 1 or something, but that's 8.
I can't wait for this to happen. Can't wait.
Well, you're gonna have to. I mean, you
That's
got
true.
24 hours.
It's all right. I got a lot to write. So the next day will be busy.